Looking at the legacy of Thomas Jefferson is very easy to do in America. Multiple monuments, schools, streets, cities, and buildings are named for a man that has had a tremendous impact on the United States. This is a legacy similar to the various founding fathers of this country as well. Though the leadership of this man has been venerated and celebrated through the history of this country, his legacy is not without its dark spots. Jefferson's continued ownership of slaves and the possibility of fathering children with Sally Hemings, coupled with his personal views on the abolition of slavery, seem contradictory. I feel that looking at the man as a whole shows a leader that did what he could within the context of when he lived in the context of that time. When researching the actions of Jefferson and supporting the cause of liberty and freedom, he is high in the pantheon of the founders. His authorship of the Declaration of Independence and a bill for establishing religious freedoms sets Jefferson high amongst his peers as a statesman dedicated to the freedom of America. Both documents espouse that men should be free to pursue what they feel was best for them in their lives, to be free from tyrannical government that restricted their freedoms, and that a man's ability to pursue his beliefs, such as religion, without government interference. Both documents were radical for their times. The Bill of Religious Freedom did not pass its initial intent. Both documents were radical because they removed the church and the king from the government. By separating the state from the church and removing the king as a head of state, Jefferson was walking into unknown territory. These are only two examples of the many examples of Jefferson's beliefs about liberty. They show how forward Jefferson was as a statesman, though there is a shadow over his legacy. Jefferson is also shown in a negative light because of the contradiction of wanting and espousing freedom for the English of America, while slave ownership was still a common practice. Jefferson held approximately 600 slaves in his adult life, while at the same time writing the Declaration and the Religious Freedom Bill. This contradiction is also coupled with the possibility of Jefferson fathering children with Sally Hemings, a slave at Monticello. Though the DNA evidence is interesting, it is not a complete match. Jefferson's actions shed light on what is seen as his hypocritical stances on freedom and slavery, the outcome being Jefferson was only interested in English freedom. However, his personal views on slavery usually were far from the fact that he held slaves. His personal views aligned more with the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson actually wrote and sponsored legislation in favor of the gradual emancipation of slaves in America. Jefferson's belief that the enslaved America should be emancipated was not published until after his death, mainly due to the controversy that could come of such views. The book published after his death, Notes of the State of Virginia, showed Jefferson attacking slavery, but very cautiously. To bring up a radical notion such as emancipation would alienate members of the public and the legislative members of the Congress and in state legislatures. When looking at some of the bills proposed by Jefferson to gradually emancipate the slaves that were rejected, shows that his actions matched his personal views. By being willing to oppose slavery, though not publicly, and provide context to his beliefs after his death, Jefferson paints himself as a man who opposed slavery. Jefferson saw the conflict that would occur about his views of liberty and enslavement after his death and wanted to make his personal views known, though his life at Monticello contradicted his views. So the question becomes how to view the legacy of Jefferson in this and the previous light. It is important to look at the context of the events surrounding Jefferson. The country had just completed becoming a free nation and was trying to build itself and make alliances between the various states. It is important to note that each state was an independent republic before joining the federal government. Creating such alliances and common ground is very difficult to do for any government body. The need to create a new nation trumped the need to reflect on some of the moral issues of the time. Though the government did not address slavery at the time, many in the country and the government pushed for the abolition of slavery, as Jefferson did. His legacy should be seen as creating a nation that can be free and planting the seeds to help change the moral issues of the country at a later date. Though this would lead to a war nearly 50 years after Jefferson lived, his statesmanship created the nation while personal convictions shifted the moral compass when it could be changed.